Kalimera from the wonderful, beautiful island of Cyprus. My name is Brian James and you join me on my path to Paphos. And today's a monumental day on my path to Paphos. But a little bit about me. I'm a dual national Irish cum British citizen who moved permanently here on the 1st of April 2025 and from a home in the UK. And at the moment I'm living out here on my own. My wife's back in the UK and I've been trying to apply for my yellow slip, my MEU1 residency, which is an EU citizen because my Irish passport is the card that I'll be going for, which allows me to not only live permanently on the island of Cyprus, but to work on the island of Cyprus too and earn my living. So in this video, decided I'm going to try and talk you through how I got my residency in just over 11 weeks. Now, basically, from the day I came here until now, it is exactly 11 weeks today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the path that I trod on that one. Obviously, if you look back through the videos, you'll have seen from September when I started this channel that I've been planning my moving out here. A lot depended on getting my Irish passport because it did depend on me having that EU citizenship. And this video, if you're not an EU citizen, you're probably going to find it fairly useless because this is for EU citizens from wherever you are in the EU states, including Ireland, maybe especially Ireland in my case, because this gives you a different entry path to the UK. So if you're a UK citizen who does not have an EU passport, it's probably not the best video for you. However, for those of you who are still here, or those of you who are interested in just watching, well, I started my journey at the beginning of March because soon I came over in March to do a fact-finding mission. We'd found all sorts of things online, all sorts of varied answers to a straightforward question. Whatever question we want, there was 20 answers at least, some of which might be true, some certainly weren't. And we had to come across here and find out. So what we decided to do was to have our last holiday here, which was going to be an all-inclusive holiday, so we could have breakfast in the morning, spend the whole day working to try and get ourselves sorted out, finish in the evening, go back, get ready, get changed, get freshened up, go and have dinner, and then plot out our next day's work. That didn't work. That didn't work at all because things actually went so quickly. It was untrue. Now, I've said many times in these videos that I would suggest if you are coming over here to seek professional legal advice from people on the island who know what they're doing. Now, we used Gwynny's red tape services that was suggested to me by a TUI rep. I've got no affiliation other than the fact that we've used them, but I've been very, very happy with them. So, Gwynny's red tape services, but there are lots of other people with fantastic recommendations who will help you through the process. It's not as scary as it seems. So we came across on the 5th of March. On the 6th of March, we went to Gwynny's, and in the space of an hour, she'd answered all the questions I needed answered and put us on the path so that I, as an EU citizen, and my wife, who's purely a British citizen, knew which path we were going on to. We were going to be coming on an MEU1 card for me, which is yellow slip, and an MEU2 card, which is for dependents and spouses of EU citizens who are non-EU citizens themselves to come in. And that gives them exactly the same residential rights as this citizen they're coming in with. There are rules on this. I think you've got to be married for more than 5 years. You've got to have your marriage certificate apostilled in the UK. But basically, when Sue comes across, because she's not over here yet, she'll be able to apply for hers, her MEU2, which takes about 6 months to come through, but she gets all the rights that I have to work and to reside over here. But hers is on a limited basis at first for 5 years, then she puts in for the MEU3. Okay, so that's where we are on that one. The next thing we did was to go off and try to find somewhere to live. So that very afternoon, the 5th of March, we went to an estate agent. It happened to be West Coast. There are other estate agents, but West Coast were great with me. Ignore my phone. West Coast were absolutely fine with me, and they got us a few places to look at that afternoon. We had a few offers from other people as well, and eventually on the Monday we came and had a look at this townhouse in Universal, a 2-bedroom townhouse in Universal, 1.5 bathrooms. Fell in love with it. Pool, it's in a nice enclosed sort of condominium area. It's really, really good, and we fell in love with this place. So we signed a 12-month rental contract agreement. 12 months is important because if you don't have a 12-month contract on a rental, or if you don't own a property, because either will count, then it causes you problems on the immigration. They want to see that you're going to be stable here for at least a year. So that basically put everything to stop. We had to look at a few places for cars, but with the rest of the time we had a holiday. So it basically, over the course of 3 working days, we got to the point of being ready to emigrate over here. So I flew back to the UK after having a nice bit of holiday instead of doing all the work we expected to do. And on the 1st of April, I came back here. I'd left my clothing. The landlord had kindly allowed me to take the keys early and to leave all my clothing, so I didn't have to take it back to the UK and bring it back here. So I had clothing here to wash on the first day. Great fun. And I moved in on the early hours. I flew out on the 1st of April, and I flew in got into the early hours of the 2nd, hired a car, came back here and set myself up and immediately started doing washing at 3:30 in the morning. But I was in my own home and living over here, but not as a resident. I was still on my 90 days, but I came in on my Irish passport. So I'm not in on my British passport as far as that's concerned. That's still back in the UK. But I came in on my Irish passport, and I've been here for the last 11 weeks like that. Now what I did is I got in touch with Gwynnies as well, and I asked them to move it forward and to get me to the point where I was actually able to apply for my residency, which they did very, very quickly. They gave me a list of what was needed. They photocopied my passport, my driving license, and any other information that I had. But I had a small list which they provided me, which I'll not give you just yet, but I'll give you the basics of it. Things like 3 months worth of bank account statements, 3 months worth of pay slips. They had to prove that I was able to sustain myself over here. Now that's not the same as the 28,800 euros you'll find for the retirement sort of thing, for the British retirement. That's a different thing. Basically what I had to do was to show that I was capable of sustaining myself without being a drain on the state. So being able to do self-employed work is fine. Any work that we did in the UK, for instance, the money my wife brings in is fine. But also to show the bank statements, both for my business and my personal bank, for the last 3 months to prove that, I was actually spending money in Cyprus as well, rather than just taking from it. So that was all done, photocopied out. I bought myself a printer, which I went through a full set of cartridges in the first night doing it, printing these all out. I also put the last 4 years worth of my tax returns in for my business. I put my tax returns in to that. Apart from that, that was about it. However, I did need a couple more things. One, I needed to go and see the Mukhtar. And if you have a look above, there's a video which tells you about what the Mukhtar is and where to find them. But I went to see the Mukhtar and I had 2 things to get from them. One was a letter of proof, which I had to show my tenancy agreement, and also any utility bills such as electricity and internet. And the other one was to get my tenancy agreement stamped as well. So once those 2 documents were done, I had my printouts to take. I had all my details there, and I went back to see Gwynnies because they'd got me a date for the 16th of June, which was the Monday. And I had to take those a week beforehand to get them all sorted out. And the cost on this, I think it's 20 euros, if I'm not mistaken, either 10 or 20 euros for the yellow slip. It was a 200 euro cost for the legal services, which I thought was really reasonable because I wouldn't have had a clue where to start. And again, this is why I say go and, at least for the first time you do this, go and see legal services. They'll take you through everything. The other thing was that they would accompany me to the immigration office, the alien and immigration office, when I went there to try and get through it. And they know the right people to talk to, they know the right way to do it, they know the right ways to prove what I'm saying on the paperwork. So that was supposed to be yesterday, that was supposed to be the 16th, and it got cancelled last week, unfortunately, and put back by 1 day. So this morning, I duly turned up at it was a 9:30 appointment, but I turned up at 9 o'clock at the immigration office in Paphos, which was crowded, absolutely crowded, with people from all sorts of areas and all sorts of ways of coming in, all sorts of residencies that they're after. And again, if it hadn't been for my legal person who actually was accompanying me there and was fantastic, I wouldn't have had a clue what to do. Now, some people had to go through to get the biometric tests done, fingerprints and photographs and things like that. But because I'm an EU citizen, all I had to do was have my photograph taken. That was for the yellow slip. So I went in, took quite a while because the forms had to be assessed first. I didn't have anything to do with that. That was taken by the legal team. A little bit later, about an hour later, they came out, took me in to have my photograph taken, and that was it. Stood up, walked out of there. I was given a folder. The young girl from the legal services went through the back, got the yellow slip, put it in the folder, and then I went back to Gwynny's to pay my bill. Oh, the other thing I must tell you as well, you do have to have at least a basic level of health insurance. That was done by Gwynny's as part of the package. That cost me about another €150 on top, plus VAT. Which I thought was okay. That was good value for money. And that includes things like repatriation back to the UK if I was to, unfortunately, go on to hire service somewhere. But the whole thing cost me about €450 in all, including the health insurance, all the help, all the legal help, and the actual yellow slip itself. So if you're thinking about going for a Cypriot residency and you are a European citizen, it is very, very straightforward. Now, what I didn't tell you is halfway through this I went to buy a car, and I'm going to do a different video on buying cars, but let's just say that you don't need to be a resident to be able to buy a car. Some people say you do not. But I'm going to do a different video at a different time about buying cars over here. But I hope this has been really, really useful for you. If you are an EU citizen, going to be a resident, it's a very, very straightforward, very easy process. But even with that, I would still advise getting some legal help, because they know the right people and the right things to say to those people to get it through very, very straightforward and very easy. So my thanks to Gwynny's Red Tape Services in Paphos. Thanks for your help. And as I say, from today, well, I'm a permanent, official, legal resident of the Republic of Cyprus, and very pleased to be so too. Anyway, till the next time, this is Brian James on his path to Paphos, now that he's arrived properly, saying enjoy your path to Paphos, enjoy yourself when you visit the island, and hopefully I'll see you as I'm going around my travels. If you do see me, give us a quick wave. I'm quite often down the English Rose Cafe, or I'm up in Cafe Nero in the mall, or maybe even in Lofty's Bar, down just off Bar Street. If you have a look for Lofty's Bar, I'm quite often in there. So if you see me, please say hello. I love meeting the viewers on this channel, and thank you for all of your support on my path to Paphos. Bye-bye.